Amendment Special Committee to order. Could we get a roll call, please?
Thank you. Committee members Chiesa,
I am here.
Hume, Vice Chair Craig Hensley, Chair Zuber.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Next item, public comment. Do we have any online?
Seeing none online.
None. Moving on, item 3 is the consent calendar. One item, approval of the minutes from December 5th, 2025. Any questions from committee members? Public comment?
Seeing none.
I would entertain a motion. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Committee members Chiesa, Hume, Vice Chair Craig Hensley, Chair Zuber.
Yes.
Going back up, Committee member Chiesa, would you like to make an action? Oh. All right. What is this?
Take the ladder. All right. Item 4 is adopt a resolution approving Amendment 1 to the Union Pacific Railroad Reimbursement Agreement for signal and design work relative to the Del Paso Siding Extension Project. Zinoye.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Zuber and committee members. Next slide, please. So the Del Paso Siding Project will extend and rehabilitate the existing siding within UP's right-of-way and will also upgrade the associated signaling needed for this extended siding. It's 2.2 miles of track work located just north of downtown Sacramento and just south of our planned station at Natomas. This project has a separate design contract. It also has a UP reimbursement agreement for engineering services. And the scope of UP's work includes the field diagnostics, which has been completed, the plan specification and construction review, and also project design for the cutovers and the signaling. This agreement has been in place since 2021. Next slide. The UP work for the preliminary engineering on the signal design is now complete and was covered in the original amount of the agreement. As the project moves into 100% design, Amendment 1 will continue these engineering services so that UP can complete the signal engineering and design. Next slide.
Thank you. And I do just want to remind, we are receiving comments that it's hard to hear speakers. Please speak directly into the mic.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
The amendment was prepared in accordance with the Rail Commission's procurement manual. And the amendment will increase the amount of the contract by $641,846. And the new not to exceed amount will be $816,846. There is no change to the contract term. The agreement with UP will end when the project concludes. Staff has confirmed that the price of the amendment is fair and reasonable. Amendment 1 is included in the 2025-26 work plan under the budget line item for the Del Paso Siding Extension Project in the PSNE phase. It's funded by the SJRRC Cycle 3 funds. Next slide. The staff recommends adopting the resolution approving Amendment 1 for the UP reimbursement agreement for the signal and design work for the Del Paso Siding Extension Project. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions from the committee? None? Do we have any public comment?
Seeing none.
Anyone in the room? Seeing none, then at this point I would entertain a motion on the item.
Move to approve.
I'll second that. Ito.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Committee members Chiesa,
Aye.
Hume,
Aye.
Vice Chair Craig Hensley,
Aye.
Chair Zuber?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Right.
Thank
Item
you.
5, Valley Rail update discussion and direction to staff for reprioritizing program delivery. Mr.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. The item that we're going to present today begins back as we've been providing you updates on the program delivery challenges that Valley Rail has faced. But the focus of this item really is providing program delivery focus and progress, like in the near term. So we'll walk you through a little bit of the history of the past several months as we have both had open session and closed session items related to this work, and then propose and recommend a path forward to you. Your recommendation would then go to the Rail Commission for approval as well. Back at your October committee meeting, staff provided a really robust item in open session related to the challenges of delivering the Valley Rail program. And that included a discussion of the project delivery challenges, some of the overall funding challenges of the program, as well as some cash flow concerns about the size of the program as it stood at that point. And if you remember, at that point, the Stockton Diamond was still a part of this discussion. Some of the key insights from that item were that due to the program constraints, there was a recommendation to reevaluate the phasing, the priorities, and the project delivery strategy for the Valley Rail program. And there's a list here. This was actually a list that was provided in that presentation to you, the committee, as well as the public, of some of the things that the program was experiencing. So longer and difficult approvals with city for additional track work, continuing construction environment cost increases. We talked extensively about the price of steel really increasing beyond what we had seen in the past, and those increases continuing to rise and not really rebaselining down to a lower level. And a lot of the Valley Rail program is steel, right? Track being installed. The stations that are proposed include a lot of steel items as well. We talked about how that raised then return on investment concerns. So the amount that we are investing in these corridors, are we receiving back what we would expect from a service perspective, as well as a ridership perspective as you move the program into operations. We talked about how the funding of the program was being challenged in terms of these cost increases, as well as opportunities for new grant funding, and then overall delivering these programs simultaneously, how that was going to impact staff as well as our cash flow challenges related to the program. So we discussed that. In response to that, you as the committee provided direction to staff to re-engage UP with these challenges and to propose a different path forward. So we put together a proposal that included both service in the north and service in the south. In that proposal, we also requested from Union Pacific that we would reduce the capital needs of the program for that initial service. So shortening some of the double track sections, deferring some of the siding work, really trying to get the overall cost of the program down to a manageable size that fit under what grant funding is available for the program today. Staff delivered that proposal to UP shortly after your committee meeting, as well as had several briefings and negotiations with them over the course of October and November. The result of those negotiations were really, at this time, UP determined that it is not going to provide any additional relief on the capital improvements related to the Valley Rail program. So the improvements that are on the books for service to the south, as limited as we have proposed, as well as service in the north, really must remain. And that really brings us to today's item, where without relief on the capital side from an overall budgeting perspective, we do need to propose a different path forward to keep progress and focus for Valley Rail. So the proposed next step from staff is to pursue a phased project delivery strategy, concentrating in one direction of the Valley Rail program, either Valley Rail North or Valley Rail South. And really, this proposed direction would have several benefits. First, it's a benefit of focus. So the capital delivery team will be able then to focus all of their efforts in one of these directions and really pursue near-term construction on the projects in that segment. would also allow the ability for the grants team to really focus their efforts on grant opportunities for the secondary segment and really fully funding that segment with additional funds from future grants. This would also allow us the ability to shift funds from later phases of the program to fully fund one of the segments, the segment that you perhaps will select today, and staff will make a recommendation in that direction. UP will be able also then to focus its reviews on those near-term construction projects so we can get them like really shovels in the ground and start moving. It would also allow progress. So the ability for us to show progress on the program, to put the shovels in the ground, to show the stakeholders, community members, and the funders that this is a very real program, that we are moving forward. We're in construction and we have an operational plan that is coming in the near term. It would also really moving into construction in a defined segment would help mitigate the cost increases that we have been experiencing as delay itself just adds cost to the program. So as the longer one of the stations doesn't go into construction, the more it's going to cost when we do end up getting into construction. Moving forward in this way would really help reprioritize the program. The first benefit is really would fully fund an initial phase. So we do have the funding available to fully fund either the north or the south with sort of the available funds that you see here at the bottom of the slide. So there are TIRCIP funds available within the program that are currently sort of on later phased projects within the program. Those funds would be reprioritized, reallocated to the phase one projects to fully fund one of the segments. Now, the SB 132 funds that you see here on the screen, those are required to stay in the south. They cannot be moved to the north. And also, something that's important to note is that the TIRCIP funds that you see here on the slide are also not all able to be moved to the south either. This will require working with the state, and the state, really their priority is the northern segment, so they would not allow the Rail Commission or SJRRC to move all of those funds into the south. So it's a little bit of a dance, but we, depending on the direction that you provide, we could fully fund like one of the initial segments of service and move it into construction. Secondly, as I mentioned on the previous slide, really choosing one direction and reprioritizing the program would add a lot of focus for the grants team. So the secondary segment or phase two would continue in design to completion, and there are funds available for that design work. And then the grants team would focus on future grant opportunities to fully fund that second segment. And these are the two options that are before you this morning. So on the left side, and I'll go into more detail in the next slide. In the north, it would be an associated suite of projects between Stockton and Natomas. The resulting operational plan of this service would be one Gold Runner train that is in sort of the lighter blue color that would be connected with a Bakersfield Oakland train and provide better connectivity to the Sacramento area. And then a fifth train for ACE, as well as connectivity for ACE north, like into the Sacramento region. In the south, the reduced program or opportunity based off of what we have like in funding available today would be this train that would be started in Modesto and be the fifth train for ACE that would travel down into the Silicon Valley. On the southern side, one thing to note is that there isn't a layover in this location of the corridor. The planned layover in the south is further south in the corridor past Ceres and is associated with the Ceres station and track work project. So these are the two phasing options that staff has studied and analyzed for you this morning. To sort of look like, well, what does that look like from a side-by-side perspective? How do you sort of evaluate these options? The construction start date for these options, the north is as very early in 2027, like shovels in the ground, ready to move into construction. And depending on sort of how the final design progress go, could even be moved slightly into maybe the end of 2026. In the south, we're looking at sort of a late 2027 start of construction. That would be like a siding project in the Bay Area. The sort of substantial construction, like maybe something that'd be more visible to the public, like the Modesto station, would most likely be in early 2028. When you look at what services are expanded in these options in the north, there's a service opportunity for ACE and the Gold Runner service. In the south, it's really just the ACE service. We've got 3 new stations in the north. These are stations that you would be familiar with. So the Natoma station, the Midtown station, and the Elk Grove station, as well as in the south, it would just be the Modesto station at this point in program delivery. From a additional infrastructure perspective, you can see sort of the suite of projects that are included here, like on the left, and then those that are included on the right. There is some crossover between these two lists because the 5th ACE train requires some of the same infrastructure projects to be completed. The total project cost for the north is just north of $500 million. And for the south, it's just under $500 million. And you can see the unfunded amounts there on the slide. That's the gap that we've been really discussing over the course of the past several meetings. And how do we sort of close that gap? On the northern side, it would be primarily the use of those TIRSIP funds you saw like on that previous slide. Those would be available to come in and fully accomplish reducing that unfunded amount to zero. On the southern side, it would be a combination of SB 132 and those TIRSIP funds. I think really important is sort of this bottom row, the potential ridership projections for both of these corridors and service and phase 1 service potentials. So on the northern side, that's 823,000 rider potential. Of that number, 580,000 about would be new riders added into the service. And this is a combination of both ACE and Gold Runner riders. On the southern side, about just under 500,000 passengers. New riders of that is a lower number, 307,000 riders. And that's due to the fact that many of the riders within that service plan would be coming from existing markets. So Lathrop and Tracy. As staff has sort of analyzed the approach, the different service options, we've dug into the forecasting of project delivery, the forecasting of what the ridership potential is, not only of phase 1, but future phases of these corridors. As we've dug into that data, we are recommending to you this morning that you would move forward and give staff direction to move forward with Valley Rail North for initial implementation, so for phase 1, while continuing project development and pursuing additional grant opportunities for Valley Rail South. Now, the principles by which staff is making this recommendation to you are here on this slide. The first is return on investment. There's a greater return on investment in the north in this initial phase than in the south, particularly focusing on the ridership potential and the ridership forecasting that was included on that slide with the table. Really almost twice as many new riders added to the services in the Valley Rail North option. Also, the readiness for construction. So Valley Rail North is more advanced in final design to break ground in construction quickly, not just on sort of the siding projects, but also on the major infrastructure projects like the stations. So really being able to show progress quickly, having the community members come out and see that we're moving forward. There's a little bit better utility in the north, considering we're in this proposal, we're building 3 stations, several pieces of infrastructure that then could be leveraged for continued service expansion in that direction. And the last principle is funder support. So as most of the Valley Rail program funding is state funding. And from a state perspective, their focus is the Valley Rail North segment due to its serving of the Sacramento market with additional service and how that service can then be leveraged in the future for the state rail plan goals, including connections to high-speed rail and how that would impact initial service options for high-speed rail. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the committee?
Just a comment, Mr. Chair. I was glad to see the last slide with the ROI at the top of the list, because as I look at all of those items, they actually all have an ROI component to them. And I think it's, it's not just the cost of improvements, but we're reliant on that ridership. And the more riders we have, the more return on investment we're going to get. This earlier completion dates and start dates, all of those things add up to a more significant ROI, and not to undermine the staff time invested, because I appreciate the fact that with one focused direction, you aren't spreading yourselves thin as staff. So again, another good ROI example. So anyway, just thank you for the clarity and for really getting us to a point where you're giving us a good recommendation for decision making. So.
We have received comments asking members to speak directly into the mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good job, Leo.
Any other questions or comments from the committee?
I guess it would be important for me to comment, and I had met with staff over the holidays just to go over these numbers to make sure I was clear on them. And I've tried many times to come up with an argument to head south, and the preponderance of the evidence leads us to the north. So I'm going to be supportive of that reluctantly, but everything adds up to just what you said about the ROI, showing something being completed, showing the people what's going on, but we can't stop planning for the south. I think that would be a big mistake. We can't lose any momentum in either direction.
Agreed. Any others? Mr. Hume.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to tease Director Chiesa. This is what happens when you don't show up to meetings in person. But there's nothing joyous about this, even though I agree with all the points made, and that I've long argued that the utility of the North can be realized sooner for a greater result. The reality is that this is kind of the lesser of two evils, and we were going down a pretty concerted path towards trying to realize the full design, the full promises of what we've been pursuing. And unfortunately, the barriers turned into hurdles. And so now we're forced to make some tough decisions. And so I hope for better days ahead. And I hope that we can find some partnership with the state and others to continue advancing towards the south. But I think for the reasons that have been stated, the proposed plan is the one to pursue at this point.
Do we have any public comment?
Seeing none online so far.
There are no other comments or questions from the committee. I would entertain a motion on the staff's recommendation.
I will move to adopt that resolution.
I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Thank you. Committee members Chiesa,
Aye.
Hume,
Aye.
Vice Chair Craig Hensley,
Aye.
Chair Zuber.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, motion carries. Going to expect some really good reports back for the next few months.
Yes, we will.
All right, do we have any committee member comments? Yes, sir.
I just want to know who the dapper gentleman sitting over there is.
Well, good to meet you, Supervisor Hume. Chris Orlando, the new CEO at the Rail Commission. So pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And with that, I think I beat Miss.
Yes. I think you did. Yeah.
All right, then we will adjourn today's meeting, and our next meeting is scheduled for February 6th at 11:30 a.m. Happy New Year, everybody, and see you in a month.